The richest black man in the world just did something no African has ever done before. Aliko Dangote's net worth just crossed $30 billion, and the way he did it is absolutely insane. This is not just about money, this is about what's possible when an African refuses to think small. $30 billion. Let that number sink in for a second. That's more wealth than the GDP of some African countries. That's enough money to buy multiple Fortune 500 companies. That's generational wealth multiplied by 1,000, and it all belongs to one man from Kano, Nigeria. Aliko Dangote just became the first African-born billionaire to reach a $30 billion net worth, and this moment is bigger than most people realize. Because for decades, people said Africans couldn't build that kind of wealth on the continent. They said you had to move to America or Europe to make real money. They said African markets were too small, too poor, too risky. Dangote proved all of them wrong. But here's what makes this story even more interesting. Dangote didn't hit 30 billion by accident or luck. He didn't inherit it, he didn't win a lottery. He built it brick by brick, bag by bag, literally. Because most of Dangote's wealth comes from cement. Yes, cement. The boring grey powder used to build houses. While tech billionaires in Silicon Valley were creating apps and software, Dangote was selling cement and sugar across Africa. And somehow, that made him richer than almost every tech founder on the continent. So how did he do it? How does someone go from being a regular Nigerian guy to the richest black person on planet Earth? The story starts way back in the 1970 seconds. Young Aliko Dangote borrowed money from his uncle and started a small trading business. He was buying and selling commodities: sugar, rice, cement, basic stuff that people needed. Nothing fancy, nothing high-tech, just good old buying low and selling high. But Dangote had something that most traders didn't have: vision. He wasn't content just being a trader forever, he wanted to manufacture. He wanted to control the entire supply chain, from production to distribution. In the 1990 seconds, Dangote made his big move. He stopped just importing cement and started producing it himself. He built factories, big ones. He invested heavily when other people thought he was crazy. They said, why build cement factories when you can just import? It's cheaper, it's easier. But Dangote saw what they didn't see. He saw that Africa was going to grow. Cities were going to expand, buildings were going to go up everywhere, and whoever controlled cement would control billions of dollars in wealth. He was right. Dangote Cement became the largest cement producer in Africa, not just in Nigeria, the entire continent. He built factories in multiple countries: Ghana, Senegal, Ethiopia, South Africa, Tanzania, Zambia. Everywhere construction was booming, Dangote was there supplying the cement. And the beauty of his strategy was that cement can't be easily imported from China or Europe because it's too heavy and expensive to ship long distances. This meant he had a natural protection against foreign competition. Brilliant. But Dangote didn't stop at cement. He went into sugar, salt, flour, and now he's building the biggest oil refinery in Africa. The Dangote refinery in Lagos is a $19 billion project that's going to refine 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day. When that refinery is fully operational, Nigeria will stop importing refined petroleum products and might even start exporting. That refinery alone could add billions more to Dangote's net worth. Now, hitting $30 billion is not just a personal achievement for Dangote, it's a statement. It's proof that you can build world-class wealth in Africa without leaving the continent. It's proof that African markets are big enough, rich enough, and promising enough to create billionaires who can compete with anyone in the world. And for young African entrepreneurs watching this, that should be incredibly inspiring. But let's keep it real. Dangote's path is not easy to replicate. He had access to capital that most people don't have. He had government connections that opened doors. He operated in industries that require massive upfront investment. Most young entrepreneurs can't just decide to build a cement factory tomorrow, but the principles behind his success are universal. Focus on real needs. Think long-term. Build infrastructure. Control your supply chain. Expand across borders. These lessons apply whether you're building a tech startup, a manufacturing company, or a service business. What's also interesting is the timing of this milestone. Dangote hit 30 billion at a time when Africa is finally getting global attention. Investors are looking at African markets seriously. Tech startups are raising hundreds of millions. The African Continental Free Trade Area is making it easier to do business across borders. Dangote's success is happening at the exact moment when the world is waking up to Africa's potential. And that's not a coincidence. He positioned himself decades ago for this exact moment. There's also something symbolic about Dangote being the richest black person in the world. For too long, black wealth has been concentrated in entertainment and sports. Music, movies, basketball, football, those are great industries, but they're limited. Dangote represents something different: industrial wealth, infrastructure wealth, the kind of wealth that builds nations, not just entertains them. And that shift in where black wealth comes from is important. Of course, Dangote is not without critics. Some people say he benefits too much from government connections and monopolistic practices. Some say his wealth hasn't translated into enough jobs or development for ordinary Nigerians. These are fair criticisms worth discussing. But regardless of how you feel about his methods, you can't deny the achievement. $30 billion built primarily in Africa is historic. So what happens next? At 67 years old, Dangote is not slowing down. The refinery is still ramping up. He's investing in agriculture and fertilizer production. He's expanding his cement operations to more countries. Some analysts think he could hit 40 or even 50 billion in the next decade if his refinery performs well and oil prices stay favorable. That would put him in the same league as some of the richest people in the world. An African, from Kano, built his wealth in Africa. For young Africans, the lesson is clear. The ceiling is higher than you think. The opportunities are bigger than they appear. And the next person to break Dangote's record might be watching this video right now. The question is, what are you building? Subscribe to see more stories about Africans rewriting the rules of wealth.